The Daytona 500 is supposed to be all-out war, so why are drivers lifting early and staying in line? Denny Hamlin just called it a parade. Is NASCAR's biggest race losing its edge? On the February 17th and 18th return of his podcast, he looked straight at the current state of superspeedway racing and called it what he believes it has become: a parade. Drivers running at 60% throttle. Teams playing a numbers game in what he described as a fairy tale land strategy that is ruining the product. This was not a frustrated rookie speaking. This was one of the most accomplished superspeedway racers of his generation. A multiple-time Daytona 500 winner who understands the draft better than almost anyone in the field. When he talks about how the race feels inside the cockpit, people listen. And what he described is a version of the Daytona 500 that looks very different from what fans think they are watching. For most viewers, the Daytona 500 is chaos and courage. It is three-wide racing at 200 miles per hour. It is inches between bumpers. It is the constant threat of the big one. It is a final lap, where the field explodes into motion and anything can happen. But Hamlin argues that what happens before those final laps tells a different story. He says that for large portions of the race, drivers are not pushing. They are lifting early. They are riding in line. They are managing fuel. They are making sure they do not fall out of the draft. Instead of racing at the limit, they are surviving inside a tightly controlled aerodynamic bubble created by the next-gen car. To understand his frustration, you have to understand what superspeedway racing has always been about. Daytona and Talladega are not like other tracks. The draft matters more than raw horsepower. Momentum is everything. One mistake and you fall backward like a stone. But in past eras, there was still separation. Certain cars could drive away. Certain drivers could control lines. There were moments where someone could step out and create a gap. The next-gen car changed that balance. The car is extremely sensitive to drag. It punches a clean hole in the air. It rewards staying tucked tightly in line. The moment you pull out alone, the air grabs you. You stall. You lose ground instantly. That reality has reshaped the entire approach to these races. Hamlin's complaint centers on that reality. He believes the current package has turned large parts of the Daytona 500 into a fuel-saving contest. Drivers are lifting earlier than fans realize. They are backing the throttle down. They are calculating whether they can stretch a run. They are more concerned about maintaining track position in the draft than about attacking the car in front of them. From the outside, it looks like close racing. From the inside, Hamlin says it feels like controlled pacing. He used the word parade because the field often runs in a long, disciplined line. Passing becomes difficult without a coordinated push from teammates. Manufacturers organize themselves into lanes. Everyone knows that if they leave the safety of the pack too early, they will lose momentum and fall out of contention. So they wait. They wait for the final stage. They wait for the final restart. They wait for overtime. That is where the aggression appears. That is where the throttle finally goes down. But Hamlin's argument is that the first 3/4 of the race matter just as much. He believes a race of this magnitude should not feel like it is being held in reserve. He described the strategy as a fairy tale land because it creates the illusion of equality. The cars look identical. The speeds are nearly the same. The draft keeps everyone within reach. But he suggests that this equality is not a result of fierce competition. It is the result of everyone playing the same conservative game. When you run at 60% throttle, no one looks faster. No one separates. It becomes about who times the final move perfectly rather than who controlled the race. That is a philosophical debate at the heart of modern superspeedway racing. Is the Daytona 500 about managing risk for 180 laps and unleashing chaos at the end? Or should it be a relentless fight from green flag to checkered? The next-gen car was introduced with big goals. It was designed to lower costs. It was built to modernize the sport. Independent rear suspension, asymmetrical body, a single-source chassis. It tightened the field across the board. It delivered parity. On intermediate tracks, that parity has created competitive battles. On road courses, it has rewarded skill. On short tracks, it has sparked ongoing debates. But at Daytona, parity combined with aerodynamic sensitivity has created something unique, a tightly compressed pack that rarely breaks apart. For fans, that compression can be thrilling. The constant proximity feels intense. The final laps are unpredictable. Records have been set for the number of leaders. Late restarts have delivered dramatic finishes, and television loves that drama, yet drivers experience it differently. Inside the cockpit, when you know you cannot escape the draft alone, your options shrink. When you know a single move without help will cost you 10 positions, patience becomes mandatory. When fuel numbers dictate how hard you can push, aggression becomes calculated rather than instinctive. Hamlin's frustration seems rooted in that restraint. He is not arguing that the race lacks excitement at the end. He is arguing that it lacks authenticity in the middle. He wants drivers to have the ability to make something happen earlier. He wants throttle commitment to matter again. He wants the best cars to have the freedom to show it. His comments also touch on something deeper: identity. The Daytona 500 is the crown jewel of stock car racing. It sets the tone for the entire season. It is supposed to represent the sport at its most raw and most daring. If veteran champions feel they are cruising through large sections of it, that perception matters. This is not the first time drivers have questioned superspeedway packages. Over the years, NASCAR has adjusted horsepower, spoiler size, tapered spacers, and aerodynamic elements to control speed and safety. Every change shifts the balance between aggression and pack stability. Safety is always part of the equation. Higher horsepower can increase separation, but it can also increase risk. Tight packs create spectacular visuals, but they also create massive crashes. There is no perfect solution. Hamlin's podcast remarks are not a technical blueprint. They are an emotional reaction from someone who believes the product has drifted too far toward calculation. He sees drivers running below full throttle and feels that something essential has been lost. Critics might say that strategy has always been part of racing. Fuel saving is not new. Drafting alliances are not new. Managing risk at Daytona has always been critical. In fact, many past winners survive by staying out of trouble until the end. That is true. But what feels different in this era is the consistency of that restraint. When the entire field behaves the same way for extended stretches, it creates a rhythm that can feel controlled rather than spontaneous. Hamlin is challenging NASCAR to examine whether the balance is right. Should there be more horsepower to create separation? Should the aero package be adjusted to make it easier to pass without help? Should the draft be slightly weakened so that individual runs matter more? These are complex questions. Every adjustment has consequences. Open the throttle too much and the cars may spread out, reducing the dramatic pack racing fans expect. Tighten the draft further, and the race could become even more dependent on late restarts. NASCAR must weigh entertainment, safety, cost, and competitive fairness. Meanwhile, drivers are left navigating the system that exists. And that may be the most revealing part of Hamlin's comments. He understands how to win under the current rules. He has proven that repeatedly. His frustration is not coming from incompetence. It is coming from perspective. When someone who has mastered superspeedway racing says the style feels constrained, that carries weight. There is also the fan perspective. Many fans love the unpredictability. The final laps bring chaos, bold moves, and moments that turn into instant highlights. From that perspective, the current product delivers exactly what people tune in for. But the debate is simple. Is it enough for the ending to be explosive if most of the race feels controlled and strategic? Or should the battle rage from the green flag? Denny Hamlin believes it should be a fight the entire way. His criticism has forced a larger conversation about how the next-gen car has reshaped superspeedway racing. Now the question hangs over NASCAR. Is the calm before the storm part of the magic, or is it holding the sport back?